up, everybody? It's Gotta See, and I'm here with another podcast episode on Holistic and Spiritual AF. Welcome back, fam. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning back in. The audience is growing. You guys are leaving comments. You're showing up in the many different places you can find me on the internet, and I appreciate each and every one of you. If this is your first time landing on this podcast, then you are definitely in the right spot. If you like topics such as how to connect with your ancestors, how to access your divine feminine codes, esoteric wisdom, we go into all of that here. Okay. So on the first and the third Friday of the month, I have a guest that comes in, shares their wisdom, their expertise. On the second and fourth Friday of the month, I come in with my downloads, my transmissions, and little mini classes, is what it's turning into. So be sure to tune in. Go ahead and hit that like button, that follow, subscribe, depending on where you're listening. This podcast drops every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And of course, I will have all the information down in the description so you can find out where to follow me on social media, check out the website, classes, books, all that good stuff, as well as today's guest, Jamila Davis. I'll also have her information down in the description as well, because this is going to be a very special episode. Okay. This is something totally different. This is the first of the first on the Holistic and Spiritual AF podcast, where I actually spoke and sat down with somebody local in Tampa, Florida, because that's where I live, for those of you who don't know. And we chop it up. And I actually met her on her walking tour. So I'm sitting down today. This is episode 77, Walking with the Ancestors, Tampa's Hidden Black History with Jamila Davis. All right. So Jamila Davis is the founder of What It Was Walking Tour in Tampa. It's a Black-owned, woman-owned business uncovering the powerful and often forgotten history of African Americans in downtown Tampa. Jamila created the tour to bring hidden stories back into the light, sharing the names, locations, and contributions of Black businesses and community leaders that were left out of traditional history books. Her immersive walking tours take guests through the downtown Tampa to experience what the city once was, revealing stories discovered through historical directories, census records, old newspapers, and the historic green books. Okay. So this is like I said, I actually walked on this tour with her and it was amazing. It really was. I was inspired. It was enlightening. She did a really good job as far as like breaking down things that I would have never known. Okay. So I'm new to Tampa. And this is a great tour that you should check out, whether you're a Tampa native or whether you're visiting coming through Tampa. Make sure you check out that link down in the description. But go ahead and tune in all the way to the end of this podcast, because, like I said, this definitely was a beautiful conversation, and she is a beautiful founder, and so I am so grateful to have her on the podcast. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. It's okay. All right. Thank you so much, Jamila, for agreeing to do this with me. I'm so excited to have you on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yes,
and
I'm excited to be here. It's good energy. I love it.
Yep, yep. And like I said, I got a chance to meet you like 3 weeks ago, at the What It Was walking tour of Tampa, and you took me down memory lane of Black history of Tampa. And like I said, I'm new to Tampa, so it was actually really enlightening for me, and it was great vibes.
Oh,
It was just
good.
me and you,
It
so
was.
I was like, how did that
Right.
happen?
I
So I could.
know. It was a little black girl little excursion, which
That's
I
right.
do appreciate. Yes.
I know we got to,
Mhm,
keep it real.
mhm.
So I appreciated that.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yes.
so tell me, I'm curious because I see you all over TikTok doing your thing, and you're
Mhm.
enlightening other people. Like, what got this started for you? Like, what made you see that there was a need for this?
Okay, so a couple of things that and I started out my mind thinking I was going to tell you about like this incident where, or this like occasion where the teacher wanted to do a Black History project with my kids, and maybe we'll get back to that. But I guess another thing that's probably just more relevant to like what's important to you and like your viewers and your message and like your energy that you're putting out in the world is that I'm a history buff myself. I'm super interested in history. I'm nosy. So I like little known history and all of that. But one of the really things that I like to do in my personal time is like whenever I'm going someplace, I like to find out about the history of that city or wherever I am while I'm in town. But I love going to like old historical houses. So whenever it's like a Frederick Douglass house or an old plantation or anything where they do a tour and they've tried to preserve things or recreate things the way it was, I really am drawn to that. And part of that reason is that I feel that there's a lot of power in an address, like knowing you're standing on ground or land that was inhabited by ancestors or other people, and that you can really feel history, and it becomes important and to you when it is personal. And I feel like when you're standing on a space that used to be a restaurant or a slave cabin or like the house of somebody, even if it's like a Starbucks, now you are somehow transported to like what was there before, and you can like really, you're able to like tap into that experience and the energy is there. And so for me, in doing the walking tour, that's what I'm attracted to, like tracking down not only things that happen in history but like where they happened and the spot that it happened and if you can get there, because it helps you, to me, like truly like visualize, feel what people felt, whatever it, whether it's the hurt or the joy or the pain, it becomes really personal. So that is something that I enjoy and I am touched by. And I remember when I leave town or I leave the area, I remember like, oh my gosh, that used to be uh, you know, the back room of some kind of pool hall, and this is what happened. And so I started to collect these little facts myself, and I would be like, oh, and one thing about Tampa is that a lot of the historic black neighborhoods are not there. And not only aren't they there, they have been transformed in a way where the street pattern isn't the same. There's nothing the same. So it's so hard to put yourself and like figure out where things were. You just can't visualize it. But one thing about Tampa is that when it comes to the downtown area, really that original grid, that map, it has not really changed. Those streets are the same. A lot of the interstate, maybe a little bit, maybe a little wider. They got sidewalks or whatever. But when you go back and you're researching history, you can almost pinpoint where something was. So to me, that started to be like super interesting. And then trying to figure out like what that experience was for Black people. And then once I started to like put that together, I was like, there should be like like I don't. This is like Tampa. Tampa's supposed to be like a real city. Like in a real city, there are lots of things to do. A lot of cultural experiences. There are, things for tourists, things for people that are here. Like you just are. You should have an abundance of things to choose from. And I thought, like, man, we should just have more stuff. And so I just really then said, you know what? I think I could do this. I could really do this. So that's kind of really where I started.
I love that. And how long have you been doing this now?
I will say, like, okay, so let me tell you this. I went to Savannah and to the New Edition concert. So that was 2 years ago. Okay, so 2 years ago, maybe like 2.5 years ago, that's when, so I did, okay, so I'm gonna tell you, I did a Black History tour. So we get to Savannah, we see New Edition, and we had a great time. And then, of course, we wanted to do a Black History walking tour. And we did this Black History tour, and not that it's anything wrong with it. It doesn't matter. But the guy who's doing the tour, he's a white guy. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you mean it's like nobody in Savannah? Like,
Right.
and right then and there is when I said, I'm gonna start that tour when I get back to Tampa. So to answer your question, I want to say it's been about 2 years, and maybe the last year is when I really started to like pick up business and interest and do it super regularly, where I have people that are booking. Somebody, I'm
I
gonna say
love
a
that.
year, seriously. Yeah.
I love that because yeah, I see you like really growing, like especially on TikTok. I see that people are gravitating to it, and everybody's kind of got this, they floored to know that all of that's right there that you walking on downtown, and it's just like walking right on over history. And I'm like you. Well,
Mhm.
no, I'm not. That was something that I really wanted to do. I'm not big onto history, but I wanted to learn Tampa because I'm new and I've been here. I think it'll be a year in March. And so I came
Okay.
across your video on TikTok and I was like, I want to do that. That's like I'm big into Black history. So, but I've never
Yeah.
done a walking tour before. And I was like, well, okay,
No.
let's see what this is. This was
Okay.
different.
Okay.
To me it was a great like, okay, let me do this. You could do it by yourself or you could do it with people. You could do it as a date thing. I love that. And so I went and I was really impressed with how you led things. Okay. And like you said, I like how you
Okay.
talked about you saw somebody, the representation was wrong in Savannah, and you was like, no, I got to do this. And like your spirit was just called to action.
Girl, I was like, wait a minute now, hold on. That needed to happen because that
It
pushed
did.
me to be like, you know what, you need to stop playing. And so, I really do think that history is for everyone. It really, really is. But I truly believe that when you have like a personal connection to it, not that you're tamping or anything
Right.
like that, but when you are aware of what other people that look like you, what they experienced, what they went through, what they achieved, their obstacles, it gives you like a connection to your new home that
Mhm.
you didn't have before. And so I think it's really powerful. I do. I think it
It
helps
is.
people like appreciate where they're from or where they live. It helps them to be able to tell the story when they go and people are wondering. You're able to give them these little tidbits, these little facts, and so it helps you really kind of embrace this the city you've adopted or that you've always known in some because I tell you, they do not teach really Tampa history here, and they don't teach Tampa Black history, but really not even Tampa history. There are a lot of people, and I just know for a fact because my kids were raised in Hillsborough County school system, they don't. So I think it's just
Mhm.
it's good on all those levels.
Yeah, it is. And it's really good. I mean, like I was just listening to you and I'm picking up stuff and not that I'm reading. It just comes to me and I'm hearing all your gifts. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, none of this was an accident. This was all divinely orchestrated through your ancestors. You tapping into
Mm-hmm.
who you always have been. You're awakening things inside of you because that's what we do because you're
Mm-hmm.
too natural at it." And when we went I wanted first of all, I wanted so bad to get up in that cemetery. Like when we went to
Girl,
the cemetery,
you gotta
I
come.
wanted to get through
Yes,
there. And
me
I
too.
was like,
Me
let's go to the
too.
back.
You gotta come back. I know, girl. If I thought we could have got up over that gate, but
I
this old trick
know.
knee, girl, I
Cause
would
I
have
was
been
like,
like, oh, you
yeah,
have to. It's something about a cemetery.
mhm,
Like I'm
it's a
super
lot.
drawn to cemeteries. It is. It's a lot, and just I don't know, like when you feel it. You feel like either like the respect, the disrespect,
Mhm.
you feel like the love, you feel the dismissal, the disregard, and you almost like want to the people to know that that seem to be have forgotten or erased, like we see you, we hear you, like you
Yes.
you are. And so like the cemetery can really, you can see how some people are like the love is expressed by some kind of memorial or like mausoleum. They got like a whole opulence. They got a whole thing. And then you see others that there's nothing there. And it would lead you to
Mhm.
believe that they weren't important. And they weren't, that nobody cared. They couldn't fundraise, they couldn't get it together. But nothing is further from the truth. And so when I go into the cemetery and you're looking at some of these graves that are either not marked, you don't people we don't know who they are, whatever. I'm so drawn to that. Like just like the homage you want to pay. and their
Hmm.
story. Like, so it makes you want to, it makes me want to dig deeper for their story. What if they had a story, they had a purpose, they were here. And so you want to
Yeah.
know. So for me, it just even motivates me more to be like, okay, there's got to be somewhere else I can look, and then to come back and add that to the tour for people so that they can, we can keep it alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because you're
Hmm.
going so far back, that's the thing. You're going
Right.
way back, So I'll tell you what I felt when we went in there. I was something just was saying, go to the back, and me, I'm
Mm.
I'm tapped into
Mm.
that stuff. So I was like, well, where we go? Me, I'm like, well, where we going? The ancestors say go do something. I do it. That's why I was like, well, come on, let's go. And then the guy stopped us,
Yes,
right? But from that moment
girl.
forward, I felt the presence of
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them. Like not in a
Mm.
negative, harmful, scary type of way, but in a like what you said, they were just walking with us. They were very pleased that somebody was remembering
Yes.
them, raising them up,
Mm-hmm.
telling their story and telling it right.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Mm-hmm.
a heavy sense of protection and pride. It was like, yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, who is Jamila? Like, so
Yeah.
all of this was going on while I was on the tour with you. That's why I was like, we got to get back up in that cemetery because I truly
Girl, we
feel
gotta
like
go. You telling me this now? You gotta go.
that's.
I have a friend, and we're like new friends, and she's been disclosing to me like her gifts. You know how people, I
Hmm.
know people are very guarded about sharing stuff like that because they don't want you to think they crazy. And
Not over here, not
about,
on this podcast.
not for you. Okay,
Not
okay.
at all, girl.
I got, I'm gonna hook y'all up because I feel like it could be a good. And I almost invited her, but I was like, okay, let's just like one step at a time because
Well, maybe we'll do
she's
a part two.
always, yes, we have to do you. You would love her, and so we're new friends, and so like we get into these conversations, and she was, something happened. I can't remember what it was, and she was just telling me how like the ancestors speak to her. And that she's not
Hmm.
always sure who it is or whatever. And she was just like, people think you crazy when you say that. And I said, oh no, I don't think that. Like not one bit. So like you telling me that, I'm like, let's go back. And like
Yeah,
I
that's what.
want you,
Let's go
yeah,
all the
I
way
want you
to
to
the back
tell
too.
me, girl, let's go all the way back there and let's you tell me what you're feeling,
Yeah.
what you're seeing, what you're hearing. Now hold on, we gonna do that.
Yeah, we are. And trust me, it's been on my mind. And so whatever it
Yeah.
is, I don't know what it's gonna be, what I'm gonna hear, but something is like you got to go back in the daytime where you guys can go all the way to the back. And so anytime I keep hearing that nudge like that, I'm like, okay, like,
Mm.
well, what we going to see? Like, what are we going
Yeah.
to do? So I guess we'll figure it out when we get there. So I said,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, and I
Girl,
was thinking, dang,
yes.
that would have been perfect. Um, that
Mm-hmm.
would have been perfect if the guy wasn't there at night, especially. But that's just me being creepy. But like I
I
said, after
know.
that, I could feel them the whole time. Like I don't know who was who, but I definitely
Yeah.
could feel them. And I felt like they weren't necessarily with me as much as they were with you because of what you're
Oh
doing.
wow.
Yeah. So like,
Oh wow. I
I
would
think a
love
lot of times,
that.
yeah, they're very proud of what you're doing. I
Oh,
think they were just there on my behalf because I could feel them. You know what I'm saying? But
yes.
like I said, I didn't
Yeah.
know who. They knew that it was respect over here, but they were really with you. So a lot of what's coming out
Oh,
of you,
that's
a lot of what you're discovering is, you're activating things. And I think that,
yes.
yeah, like this is something that you've done before. And definitely community
Mm,
ancestors are ancestors, even if they're not your bloodline, they still
right.
ancestors. So
I
yeah,
believe
you
that.
tapping into some old ones and some rich ones.
Yes. Yes. I love to hear that, and that it like pleases me because the thing about it too with Tampa and history and just everywhere, like you oral history is really important, right? And so I feel like with what is really really like well known about Tampa history is based on the y- like there are certain people now who remember stuff from like,
Mhm.
just think if they remember the 20s, right? I mean they got to be like like almost like 100 years old now, so it's like the older people get, the oral history starts to die, right? Because they people
Hmm.
just don't remember. They weren't there. Your grandma right now, like my grandma is 97. So she was
Okay.
born in 2028. And so
Hmm.
her real recollections are what, like the 40s, the 50s. So
Right.
when we're talking about going back to like slavery and like the reconstruction period, there is nobody alive now that remembers that. So the oral history starts to get thinner and thinner if we don't,
Hmm.
because if we haven't documented it and everything. So that's the part of the history I'm super drawn to, because that's a real like recollection of a history and stories and people and figures that really is not there. If there's nobody you can call and be like, hey, tell me like what used to be on this street or that street, or you ever heard about Miss Helen that was lynched. They
Hmm.
nobody remembers that. And so that's why I'm more concerned about like rebuilding that part of Tampa history, because there's nobody alive that can tell that story.
Right. Yeah. And that's
Mhm.
important work. It's really, really important because, like, I've seen your demographic and you've got all different types of people. Like you started out saying
Right.
history is for everybody. It's for
Mhm.
us, to know where we
Mhm.
came from and where we're going, but it's
Mhm.
also for people who think that slavery was so long ago. Like, like who think
Right.
that oppression is just, come on, we're all one, so and you really lay
Right.
it out on some different levels. Like you get into politics. My favorite part was what it was like before the Jim Crow era, like right after slavery and right
Yes.
before the Jim Crow era. I was all like feeling empowered as we were walking. I was like, okay, y'all do
Exactly.
that. I was like, you know what? Y'all
Right.
was some strong people. I'm talking about when you start out on the bottom, you ain't got nowhere to go but up. But then as you're telling the story, it's like, were they
No.
really on the bottom? Yeah, it was a lot. It was
Yes.
a
And
lot.
you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? You're like,
Right.
wait a minute. So people was doing pretty good. And then you're just waiting for like, okay, what happened? And I just think that's good for people to know that it is easy to believe the narrative that,
Hmm.
oh, we don't have a black president. And if you can do better, you can, you do better. And but you really really have to look at everything from a academic lens. That's what I always say, and give everything context. And so what
Hmm.
I try not to do is inject, when it depends. What the best part of the tour is the people on the tour, right? Because you pick up on their energy and what they're interested in. And so the questions that they ask, and I try to be like very neutral and then just reflect the energy and the questions that I get. Every once in a while you get a one person tour where it becomes like more of a
Right.
friend hang, and you get to go to a deeper level. But I think a lot of it is just helping people to understand what the black story is. And Lincoln freed the slaves, we got that part. But there was a lot that happened and is still happening that helps to explain this complicated racial issue, and like socioeconomic disadvantage. And so I want to do that like with as much grace as possible, no judgment, not trying to put my beliefs on anyone, or lack of beliefs, but just do it in a very factual way, and allow people to draw their own conclusions about, okay, but also understand, like, how could this happen? How do you erase a black neighborhood?
Right.
How do you like not have any documents related to this community? How do these things happen? And so, that's one of the things that I'm super sensitive about. Like, I do want it to be for everybody. It is for everybody.
Right.
100%. And I don't want anyone to feel that, they can't come on the tour because, we
Right.
gonna jump on you. You know what I
No, but
mean?
you're gonna get the truth.
You're gonna get the truth. You're gonna get the
You're
one
gonna get
hundred
it the way it
percent.
was. Like you said,
Yeah,
what it was, not
we
what
gonna
we
tell you
want
the
to
truth.
project.
Right. We're gonna tell you the truth. So
Right.
and everything that I tell you, you can go look it up, fact check it. I encourage it. I encourage it because there be a lot of people talking about stuff and they just be talking. Now you don't
Right.
know who they are, what they're saying. But I want people. I want it to help people to think and
Yeah.
hopefully have compassion and empathy and understanding. And understanding is important. I'm gonna say that. Like understanding is very important. It helps to shape your view.
Absolutely. And you know what? You
Yeah.
kind of answered my next question, which was, how do you approach this with responsibility? But you just pretty much answered that because it is a huge it's a huge assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure this thing is growing more than you thought it was going to grow, and
Yeah.
it's going to continue to grow too because like I said, people are like, "Oh, I didn't know that," and you're waking people up.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what's up. Like, so what have been some of the reactions from people? I know you put a lot of them out on TikTok, but like, what have been some of the reactions that surprised you the most?
I will say, so the best people that come on the tour are people that are Tampa natives because they come ready to be, they come ready to like correct you, baby. Or, and so I love those people because
Mhm.
I say if I don't shock you and if I tell you a bunch of stuff you already know, I will give you your money back because that's you can look up stuff online. Everybody got Google. You don't need me for
Mhm.
that. You don't need me for that. What I do, offer is just there are so many things about history that you can't find out unless you had time to go down the rabbit hole and like piece stuff together. And so it's that thing that I want to offer. So I would say the biggest surprise or what I really like enjoy when I have like a very well versed Tampa native and after the tour or during the tour they're just letting me know like I have never heard any of this stuff before. And so that's the main thing that I really enjoy. I haven't received any real negative feedback because honestly probably those people would never book it
Right.
because they come from if that's the kind of space that they're in. So it's always been really very very really positive. I think people don't have a high expectation when they come, like you don't, and probably you too, like you don't really know what you're gonna get. And so I think that they're, very surprised ultimately, like, oh, like this was like way more than what I thought. And I think the price throws people off because, I want to keep it super cheap. And so I think they're gonna get something that's like equivalent with how much it costs. And so, but that's on purpose. So I
Right.
get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it accessible to people. And so I
Hmm.
like that too. So yeah, that is pretty interesting. I bet you, yeah, if this was my hometown, I'd be ready too to bring it. Be like, wait a minute, that's not right. What
Yeah,
you
like
but
girl, they be ready, and the older the better. Cause the older they are,
right.
they really, and I will tire them out, right? Cause they be getting tired. They be like, oh, and I like, no, let's keep going. Like you tap out, you tap out. So, but I like that because that means that I'm doing it right. And
Mhm.
and if they say, well, I already knew, everybody knows about this, everybody knows about that, then I know I need to go a little deeper and like do a little better. But so far, I have not had to give any refunds for that. So that's the best part. But I just figure I take it as a personal challenge when somebody is from Tampa because I want to surprise them. I want them to walk away being like, oh my gosh, like I've never heard that before. Like I'm enriched because I really, really learned something that I didn't know.
Right. And so I think I've seen some of your videos too. You've had people not from Tampa, like people who were just visiting, or maybe new. Like, what have been some of the responses from them?
Yeah, so like the people, so like during football season, I feel like I get a lot of people that because people love to come to Florida from
Right.
visiting team. A lot of cold weather people, like people from Chicago and Patriots and
Right.
Buffalo, And so I do get a lot of tourists or people that are coming to visit family, and then the family like sets it up as something to do. And one of the things that I get is just so many similarities from wherever they're from. So you get
Hmm.
somebody who is from Indianapolis and they're like, oh, we had a whole, that's the same thing happened in Indianapolis. I talked to a guy, he was from Tulsa, and
Oh yeah.
there were so many similarities with Black Wall Street, and it really is eye opening. So a lot of times I learn a lot from them, like, oh my god, I mean, like, you knew that it wasn't just Tampa, it wasn't just the South, but just to hear about like in the West, in the Midwest, and like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, and to know like how things would have been so different
Yeah.
if we, if these things had not happened and there had not been such a concerted, aggressive, and often violent effort to push us back down. I mean, it is really unbelievable what our people were able to do in short periods of time, very
Hmm.
short periods of time. We're talking about sometimes less than a decade, less than 5 years after slavery, that you've been able to, establish whole towns and
Yes.
businesses and banks. It's like a bank? How, Sway? How did you start a
You're
bank?
right.
It
Schools.
is schools,
Like I thought y'all weren't supposed
universities.
to know how to read. Like, you know
Uh,
what I'm
uh,
saying? Like some the math as we were going through this, and I know a lot of this stuff. The math wasn't mathing, y'all. I was like, some
no,
I said the math ain't mathing, y'all. Especially when you talking
no.
about like Florida and when Florida was actually purchased by the United States. I was like, you know, that just started all kinds of clicking for me as to why like
Mm-hmm.
Florida's such a big swing state. It's such a large piece of
Mm-hmm.
land, just a whole bunch of stuff that was like, yeah, the math ain't mathing, y'all, on a lot of different things. And so
It's
I think it's
not.
very
It's
important.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important that people know a different side of Black history, not just the slavery story, Jim Crow, civil rights. We struggling, we tired, we
100%.
surviving. They need to hear, like I said, that empowered portion of how with
Mm-hmm.
nothing these people came up. Like I'm talking about, they supposedly had nothing, but even if some of them did start with that. Within 5 years, the pure determination, the willpower, the strength, the courage of these people, and how a lot of them were unbothered. Like we ain't asking you for nothing. We over here doing our own thing. We got community and unity. And so those
Yes.
those things wake stuff up, I think, in people that make them like, wait a minute, like how the hell we get from this to this? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It
yeah, very
does.
important.
It does. It unearths something in you, like literally every day. So, like, I'm always researching different things. If it doesn't fit into my tour, I put it on TikTok so that you're not seeing the same thing on TikTok that you experience in the tour. But every day I find something new where I'm like, well, I be damned.
Mhm.
Like, wait a minute. This is just totally random, and I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but I was researching this guy, and then I found out who he was. And then I found out his dad was a doctor. And then I found out his granddad was a pilot.
Mm.
Like, we talking about like the 1870s.
Right. How was that possible, y'all? Like the math ain't math. And that's what I'm saying. What was that, 5 years after? Like, who taught you how to
Saying he
fly?
was
You
This
know,
man was a whole pilot on the census. He had a pilot's license. And I was like, wait a minute. I would have thought that that was something that we had never been trained to do, had been
right.
barred from, that perhaps we didn't have the intelligence for.
Right.
No, no. See, I'm like, we not getting the whole story. You know what I mean? We're not getting the whole
Right.
story. Yeah, yeah,
Very
100.
important. And as you do this stuff, it encourages people to do their own research, like you said, because
Yes.
if they're pulling this stuff off and out of schools, off the internet. I think I told you I had
Right.
for my one of my portfolio projects, I created a African, not Afro Indigenous American history. So it went into a lot of our presence before slavery, not all of us being slaves and
Ah.
stuff. And I was
Mm.
putting information on there, and some of the stuff was like .gov stuff, and I would go back and the information was off. It was gone. And it took me a long time to do it
Mhm.
because I had to like go find and piece this information together.
Mhm.
So it's very, very important what you're doing because this is going to help people to, hey, let me research. Let me see what else is out there. You'll never get bored. Like
You
there's
will
always something.
never.
There's
You
something.
will never, you will never. And like one of the things is like I want, like I'm big on receipts. I'm like it's
Mhm.
all receipts because you know the internet is great and it gives us so much access, but it's a lot of disinformation, misinformation.
Mhm.
I'm like you think you listening to a doctor? Who what is he a doctor of, baby? Like I mean, so you got to be careful. So just as a matter of practice, every once in a while, you need to something you hear, you need to do a
Oh
search and
yeah.
find out because it can you know it's easy for all of us to be misled and we repeating something that is not true. So like I am heavy on receipts. You just go do your own little digging, not all the time, but some of the time, and just make sure the source that you're relying on or that person that you feel is a trustworthy person on the other end of the phone on Instagram or whatever that you know that you feel that you can really trust the information that you're getting, especially for our younger people, for these
Yeah.
young kids, you know, like they don't even know about research. They don't know how
They be
they ain't
like
never
Chat
had to go to the
GBT.
they don't even know what a card catalog is. They don't even go to the library no more.
Yeah, somebody
So
did a video about the what was it, the Dewey Decimal System? Like
the
that was
Dewey
some
Decimal
intense
System.
that was
They
intense,
don't know.
y'all.
They don't even know how to alphabetize now. You remember when you used to have to
That's
like
true.
alphabetize? You was like,
Yeah.
they don't know. So I'm like, these children, you need to research and be careful about who you're listening to, and make
That's
sure that
right.
they know what they're talking about. So yeah, 100% receipt heavy, 100.
Yeah. And I love that. And it just you do the work. You do the work for us and then just kind of take us on the tour. And I like one of the things I like too is like I said, how you described the different timelines. And as you were describing it, and you're like, and over there, I could actually like visualize what they must have looked like,
Visualizing.
what they was wearing, what was life like
Yeah,
without all of this stuff in the way. So yeah,
yeah.
you did a really good job with that. And I
Oh,
think
good, good,
yeah, you're
good.
doing a thing, girl. I'm glad that I went. Like I said, I want to
Me
come
too.
again. I've been telling
Yes.
everybody. I put it in a Facebook group because somebody was like, "Is there any Black History things?" I'm like, "Shit, this all year round." I'm like, "But it'd be perfect to take a group now, like if that's what
I
y'all want to
know. You
do
know, people
this
be
month."
waking up during Black History Month.
I
My, you
know.
know, they be waking up. My grandma used to say on Easter, "Ain't nothing but cave Christians come out on Easter," and I feel the same way sometimes about some of y'all. I ain't
That's
talking about
right.
you,
You
but
ain't
like,
never lying.
I'm just saying. But that's okay. Come on, we receive you. We do it all
That's
year
right.
round around here. But
I
all
know.
right, we'll take you during February.
You're not going out there in the cold right now, are you? You like this ain't
I
cold for DC,
am.
girl.
I got a tour for tomorrow, but girl, let me tell you, last weekend I had canceled. I canceled on the 31st because that was Gasparilla. But then I said, "Oh God, I'm glad I canceled." And I had a group on Sunday, and they wanted to do Sunday at 10 o'clock, and it was like 20 some
Oh,
degrees.
yeah. Mm-mm.
And I was like, I was praying they cancel. I said, "Oh, thank you." I mean, I just ain't built for it no more.
No,
Like,
that's what
you
I was gonna
can't
say.
really
You a
process
Floridian now.
information. No, I'm saying, I'm just saying, and I can't really hear good when I'm cold. I ain't gonna lie.
Right.
Like when I'm
Can't do
super
nothing
cold
right.
or super hot, I don't be processing well. So I'm like, I know they ain't gonna remember nothing. So they did reschedule, thank God. So, but
Good.
tomorrow I got a tour at 7:30. So I hope it's not too bad. But it was kind of cold all day today. All day
Yeah,
today.
it kept dropping. I think tonight it's gonna be cold, but it's gonna go back up tomorrow a little bit.
Okay,
But y'all
okay.
still, it ain't gonna be as cold as it is tonight. But yeah, I know. That's why I was like,
Okay, all
no.
right, all right,
They need to
yeah, girl.
get the
Because
weather
I ain't
Florida again.
able. I ain't able. I'm not. But yeah. So I look forward to it. Like people be excited to go into. I be more excited. I'm like I just can't wait. Like it's something that like I really really enjoy doing and
That's
sharing with
good.
people. And I hope that it's something that it like touches them in some kind of way. Like it there's hopefully there's just like one story, one person, one event in that whole thing where like you won't ever forget it. Like if you don't remember anything
Mhm.
else, you just remember that one thing. And then I feel like the assignment was met.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
yes, yes. Like I hopefully y'all get out there and see my girl Jamila at the What It Was walking tour. Okay. So tell us
Yes.
how we can find you, like how people can sign up, and also let's just end with what it is that you want people to get when they leave the tour.
Okay, so you can find me on TikTok, What It Was Walking Tea. You can find me on Instagram, What It Was Walking Tour. And really, you can book the tour and, see all my socials on my website, What It Was Walking Tour Tampa.com. The main thing I want people to know, the tour, I keep it very affordable. I have been chastised. I've had friends pull me to the side and be like, what are you doing? But I'm really committed to keeping it like, look, I'm a mom. I had two kids, and when they be charging for stuff, it starts to hurt and so it's $15. Kids are free. All kids, 17, 16, 18, your big, 18-year-old. It's okay because the whole point is exposure, because
Right.
you're not going to get it in school. The Tampa Bay History Museum is nice, but it doesn't really go into that real detail about our story, about Tampa's, Black history story. So the whole thing is to be able to like share the history and make sure that we can pass it on to the next generation. So a lot of us weren't exposed to kind of Tampa history or Black history until we were older, and now we have that choice to say like, oh, I want to know about this. But think about maybe how your trajectory might have been audit or like changed a little bit if you would have been super exposed when you were 9 or
Mhm.
13 and you tapped into that power of the ancestors and knowing
Right.
that something special had happened on this land, or somebody had grieved and fought and kind of loved a section of their property, which kind of sits right under your school or whatever. And so that's what I want. Like I want people to be exposed and hopefully motivated. But if at least if they had a good opportunity to learn the Tampa Black history story, then I'm super satisfied with that. I like to see more kids. I do admit that really it's a kind of middle school, high school vibe. Like I feel like the
Mhm.
little kids, they're not gonna get anything, not to get anything. It's not, as appropriate, or, they can't absorb it as well. But I think like that middle school, high school range is where we need to target anyway. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I feel like we need to, you know, focus in on them. And so that's what I want, exposure. It's just people to come and get something out of it and just be hopefully really, empowered, entertained. I mean, enlightened, all the E words, get good energy, like all of that. And so that would, I would feel like that I'm like meeting the mission if that happened.
Well, yes, you did. You did all of that. And it seems
Ah,
like the other
girl, when
people
we
that are
going to that
coming.
cemetery, I can't
I'm
stop thinking
telling you,
about it. We
I know. See,
we
like
gonna
I
do
said,
another. Okay, I got the whole next episode
bring
set
your
up, and we're gonna
girl.
go to the. Yes, we're
I'm
gonna
like, bring
go
your
to the
girl.
cemetery. That is it. We're gonna go, and then we're gonna bring her, and then we're gonna get on the call, and we're gonna discuss like everything
Yes,
we felt, why we felt it, like anything that was coming through. Like, oh, girl,
it's
that's
gonna be
what we're gonna
deep.
do.
The part two. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be tea. I kind of got chills just now
I
thinking
know. I was
about
like,
it.
maybe
That's
I
what we're
said
gonna do.
too much. I was like thinking because I was kind of going in kind of hard, but I can't help myself. Like I just had to say something because I've been thinking about that the whole time, and I'm like, why y'all want me to go to the cemetery? And I
No,
gotta go. Like, so
you gotta go. You
I
gotta. We
gotta
gotta do
go.
it
Like I'm
now. We
like,
gotta do it now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what's
yeah,
up. You
yeah.
know what? It has been a joy having you on. I knew it would be. And I know my audience is going to love
Yes.
you, love you, love you. So if you are in the Tampa area, if you are here visiting us in Tampa, you can walk with Jamila at whatitwaswalkingtourtampa.com. She is also doing her thing on TikTok and Instagram. On TikTok, What It Was Walking Tea, and Instagram, What It Was Walking Tour. And thank you
Yes.
so much again. And that is it, y'all. Until the next
Oh,
episode.
that
Peace.
was fun. Thank you for having me.